Hey, my name is Cédric Potvin. I am the co-founder of Vertex Marketing Agency, a Facebook ad agency. And in this video, I will be talking about the iOS 14 privacy policy update. So ever since Apple released this update to the public, right, that they were gonna make an update with the privacy policy, I've been doing a lot of research to see how would that affect us advertisers. And I've honestly spent countless hours researching this. So I decided to make this video to really just give you all the information that I was able to consume in a video format so that it would be easy for you to understand, well, first of all, what is this privacy update about and how does this affect advertisers? And also, why did Apple do this? And the most important one, what can you do about it, right? What are some workarounds? So before I start covering all these different things in this video, I would love if you can give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Anyways, let's get right into it. So Apple actually came out with a privacy update that will affect businesses of all sizes. So not just large and not just small businesses. And I'll explain why and how later. But Apple announced that the update will take in the early months of 2021. So we're expecting to have this update in either January or February on all iOS 14 devices. And exactly what you see here, this is what most companies and everyone's really scared about, and that's what people have been talking about, is this huge pop-up that will appear whenever you download and open an app for the first time. So it's gonna look like something like that, and it's gonna say, allow the name of the app, in this example, it's Facebook, to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites. And then the user will have the option to either ask app to not to track or actually allow the app to track them. But obviously we estimate that the majority of people will click on ask app not to track, which again, I don't blame them. If the only thing you're showing me is, do you want this app to track you or not? Even me, if I didn't really understand how everything works, I would probably click on ask app not to track. But without actually understanding that, this just means I'll see less personalized ads, meaning that I'll be less interested in the ads that I'm seeing. But it won't stop the amount of ads that I'm seeing. I'm still gonna see the same amount of ads. They're just gonna be less personalized. Now, the other big change is what we call cross-site tracking prevention. So a user would actually need to go in their settings to allow cross-site tracking. And we know that right from the start that no one will actually do that. And that's the change that most concerns me. And that's just because 99% of our clients don't have apps. They actually have a website, and that's where all the action actually happens. But doesn't matter if you have a website or if your business is based around an app. Both of these two changes, what it does is it blocks you from sending information to a third-party domain. So Apple is actually partnering with really good ad blockers for the Safari search engine. So these third-party ad blockers actually recognize and understand whenever you put something on your website, like the Facebook Pixel or even Google Analytics, and they will actually block these apps from getting data from your websites, right? So that's really bad if you have the Facebook Pixel on your website, because it means that if someone, let's say they go on Facebook, they click on your ad, and then they don't convert directly from that, from that click, and then later on they decide to go on Safari and type the name of your company and then convert, but the Facebook Pixel would probably not be able to pick up that conversion, and then later on in Ads Manager associate that conversion to that specific ad. So that is a huge problem, because again, you want to see what ad is working and what ad is not working. And when we have these ad blockers blocking things like the Facebook Pixel on your website when someone is using Safari, well, you won't be able to get and see that data. And the thing is also that most people using iOS, an iPhone, will actually use the Safari search engine. They are not using Google Chrome or anything like that, right? They're using Safari just because that's what's already downloaded and it's more convenient, right, for someone using the iPhone. So really what this is you won't be able to send data to third-party domains. So you can see here I have an example, and vertexmarketingagency.com. That is our domain. And we have other third parties here, let's say like Google Analytics and Google Ads or Facebook.com. These ad blockers understands and they can see what your domain is. And when you install the Facebook pixel on your website, for example, the Facebook pixel, what it does is it grabs the information from the user and then sends it to their server, right? Their domain. But the ad blocker will block anything that is sending data to a different domain. So that's actually what it's called, a third-party domain. So a third-party domain is anything that is not your domain. So it's gonna block that and you won't be able to send information to either Facebook or Google Analytics. And I just want to take a second to say that even though we specialize in Facebook ads and this video is more tailored for anyone doing Facebook ads, this changes with iOS 14 is actually affecting all types of advertisers. So it doesn't matter if you're doing Google ads, YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads, everyone is getting affected by this. So now we know that you won't be able to track conversions and other specific events when someone uses Safari. And also if you have an app, you are not going to be able to send information to a platform like Facebook. But what are some of the other expected changes to your Facebook ads? Well, another one that you're going to see is that you're only going to be able to have access to 8 events per pixel per domain. So that is not a huge deal if you're a small to medium-sized company, because usually you'll have 5, 6 or events that you're tracking per domain. And if you're like, oh, what is an event, right? What does that look like? So let's say you have an e-commerce store and you want to track page view, you want to track when someone clicks the add to cart button, you want to track when someone purchased an item, and you also want to track when someone subscribed to your newsletters, right? Those would all be different events and different things that you can track. And now with the update, you can only have 8 events that you can actually track. So again, for small businesses, that's fine. But if you are a larger company, this can become a problem, because let's say you have a store in Canada and then the one in the United States. Well, you might have one store at the end of the URL, it's like a /CA, and then the other one is /US. And your page might actually be different, the way it's shaped, and you might want to be tracking different things as an event. Or let's say you have more than one agency. Some agency will want to have like 1 pixel for what they're doing, and the other agency will want to have their own pixel as well. So then that comes down to 2 pixels per domain. Let's say you have 2 agencies managing your ads. But again, as we can see here, you can only have 8 events per pixel per domain. So they would have to actually remove 1 pixel. So it can really become a problem for any bigger company. The other thing that we'll be seeing is that Facebook is moving to a 7-day click and 1-day view attribution window. So what this means is that if someone clicks on your ad and they go to your website, the attribution window, meaning the time frame that Facebook will be able to associate that click to that conversion, is 7 days. So let's say I clicked on your ad and then I don't do anything, I don't convert, and then 8 days later I decide to then convert. Well, you wouldn't be able to associate that conversion to that specific ad. And then the 1-day view attribution window, this just means that if you view the ad and you don't convert within the same day, 24 hours, well, again, Facebook won't be able to associate that conversion with that specific ad. The last big thing that we're going to be able to see that is really changing due to the iOS 14 update is a 2 to 3 day delay in reporting. So that is a huge factor, just because you're not going to be able to start a campaign and make any sort of data-driven decision within the first 2 or 3 days, because there's going to be a delay in reporting. So this means that if ever you, after 3 days, you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm seeing results or I'm not seeing results, and then you decide to change a creative, you'll need to wait at least another 3 days before you can even evaluate the changes that you just made to your campaign or your ad set. So that is a big change. It's just going to mean that we're going to have to be more, I guess, patient with whatever changes that we make in our ads. Now let's talk about why did they do it. Well, number one is, it's more money for Apple. Let's just be honest here. So Apple actually gets a cut every time someone buys something, whether that's in the App Store or even in-app purchases. So they get a cut out of it. And what happened is, if they decide to have this thing that says, oh no, you can track it or not track it, we already know that 99% of people will say, no, do not track me. But if that happens, that means that people will still show ads to these users, but the ads won't be personalized. All right, because now you can track the user, you can track what they like, you can track even maybe their gender, right? So I might be showing tampon ads to a guy, right? And it just might not be relevant for him, right? I don't think it will be. So the user won't buy, and the actual conversion rate is gonna drop, and everything's gonna fall off. So what happens then is that people decide, okay, well, me, the app owner, I can't have ads running on my app in order for me to make revenue, so I can hire engineer and hire app developer to keep improving my app. So they have two options now. They either close down their business, or B, they decide to charge a fee to the user, and most of them will start charging a fee. Now, these free apps will have to charge something to the user, and guess what happens again when you do that? Apple actually gets a cut. So I really do believe, and same thing with a bunch of other experts, believe that this was one of the main reason why Apple did what they did. People have been asking for it. There's even documentaries on Netflix kind of pushing and showing you how social media, they're collecting information on their user and all these sorts of things. So people care more about privacy, and it's just something that people care about, and we have to be careful, and we have to kind of respond to the demand. But the thing is that a lot of people that are asking for more privacy, it's actually, they don't see the full picture. They think that they have the option of, I want to keep doing this and using all these different apps like Google, Facebook, but I just don't want them to track me. So I'm going to vote for them to not track me, and perfect, they won't track me anymore. But those are not the options. It's either they track you and they deliver personalized ads so that you're actually interested in these ads, so these advertisers can actually make money when you decide to convert, or B, there's no ads, but you have to pay for the platform, right? Let me ask you this question. If I'd say that, hey, tomorrow, you won't see any ads on Facebook, Google, and all these other apps, but you now need to pay a fee for all these different platforms. Would you be okay with that? Would you want that? Me, I know personally not. I know I have so many apps on my phone. I love Google. I use Google all the time. Sometimes I'll make a pie and I'll go on the internet and I'll look up for pie recipe. I don't want to have to pay for a pie recipe website, right? I don't want to have to pay a monthly fee for this sort of for these sort of blogs when I can. I'm used to have all this information for free, right? So people think that they have the option to keep getting that for free and also have these websites and app not track them, but this is not the truth, and those are not the facts. So we have to either say yes, track me, and we keep everything for free, or if we say no, well, that just means that we're gonna have to actually start paying for everything, because for someone to write a blog, for someone to keep an app up to date, it requires a lot of work. And if you're putting all this time in, you gotta get paid somehow. So those are two main reasons why Apple actually did what they did. So what can you do about it? AKA, what are some workarounds? So I feel like so far this video has been pretty negative. I haven't been really saying anything interesting or cool, but this is where it gets interesting. So there are some workarounds. There are still some things that you can do to be really profitable with Facebook ads. And what this means, it just means that probably less people are going to be advertising on Facebook, whether because they see less results or they're just scared because of these changes. So this means that there is probably more fishes for you in this ocean. So So yeah, that can be a really great thing for you. But one thing I just want to mention before I get into like what you can do in the workaround is that you should not be doing anything in terms of collecting data and anything like that if your users are not okay with it, right? If you're trying to do this behind your user's back, that is not a good option, and you should always have their consent before you collect information. So this should be in your privacy policy that you are collecting data on your users, right? Before you implement anything. So just want to say that. So definitely make sure that it is in your privacy policy and that your users are aware that their information is being collected for whatever reason. So the first thing that you can do, and this is what Facebook recommends, is to actually connect or verify your domain to Business Manager. So this is probably like the easiest thing you can do just to make sure that you don't get affected too much by the iOS privacy policy update. And it's just going into Facebook Business Manager. You can click on Business Settings and then click on Brand Safety in the left side panel and then choose Domains. And then after that, you're going to click on Add and then enter your domain in the pop-ups. And then you're going to be able to verify your domain with Business Manager. So the second thing you can do is honestly just keep the action on Facebook. So if you keep the party on Facebook, you won't really be affected too much by this update. So what do I mean by that is that as long as you're staying on the app platform, as long as the user stands on the app platform, well, Facebook should still be able to track what's going on because it's their app. So brand awareness, that's still something you'll be able to do. Reach, engagement, video views, lead generation, messages, and those are the main ones. So if ever you have a service-based business and you drive people, originally you're maybe doing a conversions campaign, right? You drive people to a landing page, and then it might be a simple landing page where you just ask them for their first, last name and email and phone number. Well, you could probably do something really similar with the lead generation, right? So you create a lead form on Facebook, and the user actually never leaves the Facebook platform. So Facebook can actually track that the user converted and then report that into your ads manager. So that's something you can do. But obviously, if you're in the e-commerce industry, you can't really sell a product with the lead generation form. Well, you actually can't. So you really need to use the conversion tactic or catalog sales, or even a traffic campaign. So those are all that I just mentioned. Those are all things you can do. But here's a real workaround. So it's actually called server-side tracking. So I've taken a decent amount of time studying what Apple blocks and what they don't block. And they make it pretty clear that they block everything and any information that is being collected by a third party. Okay. But because of fraud and a lot of different things, you need to be able to collect information about your users and send it to internally to your internal server. So that's something that you can do. So what you can do is actually create on a subdomain. For example, let's say our company is vertexmarketingagency.com. Let's say we create on a subdomain collect.vertexmarketingagency.com. I can actually collect the information of our users and then send it to that subdomain. So what I'd have to do is collect all the information that Facebook originally collects when you put the Facebook pixel on your website, collects that information with the help of probably Google Tag Manager. That's the way we usually do it. So collect the information with Google Tag Manager and send it to our server, which is collect.vertexmarketingagency.com. And keep in mind that this is still our domain. So we can do that. We can send information internally because collect.vertexmarketingagency.com is not a third-party domain. It's simply a subdomain. And then once the information is in our server, and you see this logo here, that's Google Cloud Platform. So that's a service that Google offers where you can create a server and store information there, but it's still on your server and it's apparently confidential and it's still seen as your domain. And then what you can do with that is once you have the information, well, you can send it to Facebook, you can send it to Google Analytics, and Facebook even has a conversion API that is made specifically for this and specifically for accepting information from your server. So it's really this: you collect the information about your users, you send it to your server and then send the data to the third parties. So that is the real workaround. This is how we do it. And this way is actually also more secure, because when you install the Facebook pixel on your website, Facebook can collect whatever they want to collect, right? They say, like, they give you a list and tell you, oh, well, this is what we're collecting, but they could technically collect anything that they want. And same thing with Google Analytics. And Google is known for sometimes collecting a little bit more than what they tell you they collect. And yeah, with server-side tracking, you collect the information yourself. You keep all the information secure, and you only send the information to, let's say, Facebook, and you send the information that they actually need and they require for them to be able to track conversions. And there's a ton more benefits of doing server-side tracking. Another one is improving site speed. So instead of having all these different tracking code on your website, you capture it yourself and you can just send it to your server. That actually is just less JavaScript on your website, because all these different like pixels and all that, they're all JavaScript. So it just will mean that your website will load faster. And again, there's a ton more benefits, but server-side traffic is a workaround. Now, you might be listening to this like, holy crap, that sounds complicated. And I won't lie to you, it is complicated. It's something that we set up for our clients only when they really need to be able to track conversions. Like I said, there's other workarounds, like keeping the party in the action on Facebook. But if you're in the e-commerce industry, you just need to send people to your website, right? So that's something that I would definitely recommend. But this is also why Facebook says that this update will affect mostly small businesses. And it's just because a lot of small businesses, first of all, don't have the technical knowledge to install this, or might not have the budget to install server-side tracking. But this is the real workaround, and server-side tracking has been around for a really long time. It's just that when Facebook came out with the Facebook Pixel, and same thing with these other third parties, people just saw that it was easier to install JavaScript. And back then, we didn't have all these different privacy concerns. So, things like the Facebook Pixel got really, really popular. But just to let you know, server-side tracking, it's been around for a long time. So that is it for this video. Again, 3 big takeaway. Number 1 is verify and connect your domain to Business Manager. Number 2 is try to keep the party on Facebook if you can. Because if you keep the party on Facebook and the user doesn't leave a Facebook domain, technically it's still like their domain, right? So Facebook will still be able to track that with no problem. And number 3 is if you need to send a user to something like your website because you're in e-commerce, or there's something that they truly need to go to your website for them to really see the full benefit of your service or your product, that's totally fine. But definitely do some research and look into server-side tracking. If you have any questions about that, or honestly anything else, don't forget to leave a comment underneath this video, and we answer to everyone. And yeah, that is it for this video. Please do give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, again, subscribe to this channel, because we release videos just like this one every week. Bye.